Prince and I are doing kind of a low-tech video, just playing around with this. Is the classic vibe 50s Telecaster, and it's a beautiful little guitar. It's made out of pine, got the old black pick guard on it, has the brass back here in the back. It has, you know, the original kind of styled tuning heads on it and everything, classic, I guess. Very lacquered, but beautiful piece of wood and everything. You've probably seen reviews on this already. I'm just going to play some. And I thought what I'd do is just hit some licks and stuff, and just grab an American Telecaster. My favorite guitar that I own is an American Telecaster from 1989. Plays great, sounds great. Just fantastic guitar. I have played a 50s Telecaster in the past. I played a 52 Telecaster a guy used to have. Was a buddy of mine. I'll tell you more about that later. I'm going to go ahead and just play some licks and stuff on this guitar so you hear what it sounds like. I am playing through a small little Fender Mustang amp, a Generation 1 Mustang 1. And I'm just flipping around through some different sounds, and I won't change anything on the amp. I'll play what this one sounds like, and I'll play what the American one sounds like, the old American, and see what you think. Here we go. Some... all on the front pickup. I like to play on that pickup a lot. If you hear some weird sounds, that's my pug making weird sounds. Okay, so here's the middle little in-between type sound. Let's go all the way to the very back pickup. So yeah, that's what you got with this one. And this is on this one clean sound that I'm playing. And I'm recording the sound with over here behind me, I've got a Zoom H1. Fairly recent model, the Zoom H1. We'll play some distorted sounds too, but let me just right quickly switch over to an American so you can hear what the difference in the sounds are like. Okay, so I've made absolutely no changes on the amp whatsoever. Here's what we've got with the American one. This is on the front pickup. So I'll play some similar type licks. Here's what it sounds like in between. Here's what it sounds like with the back pickup. So that's kind of how the American one is. I'll talk about playability and everything in a little bit, but that just gives you an idea of different sounds. Let's move on to a couple other sounds here, and I'll stay with the American one for now. This is a little cleaner. So let's switch over to the Squier again. Very spanky. That's the back pickup. Here's the in-between. Here's the front pickup. It may be set up just a little bit. This one came from Sweetwater Sound, and they do pre-setups on the guitars. I'm sure they tried to set this thing up as low as they could possibly get it. And the playability is quite good. Okay, let's go to the American one. I have played the American one on this. Let's get a little bit fuzzier kind of sound here, maybe. This sound, I don't know, it's got so much gain, you can't hardly really hear what it sounds like. Sometimes I think the more effective things are, the more it kind of like masks what's really there. It's all on the rear pickup in between. This is just as playable up the neck as my American one is. Let's switch over to the American one. Okay, again, same amp sound. Now, one thing I've noticed with my old American amp is like this very high gain sound, or my old American guitar, the very high gain sounds, particularly these pickups, they just feed back. Hear that? As I drop my pick. So that high gain situation doesn't seem to be there with the Squier. So these are like I say, pickups from 1989. But so here's how they sound. We're on the front pickup now. I'll play some of the same sort of licks as playing a while ago. Playing the rear pickup now. Pug is unrelenting. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the guitars for just a minute, and then I'll hold the pug so she'll shut up. Okay, so I'm holding a spoiled pug, and I'm talking about two different Teles. This is Nico. She's a female pug that's 15 years old, and she's just a real aggravation, but I love her. Okay, so anyway, about the two Telecasters. So my old American one, what do I like and love about it? The playability is just fantastic. It's one of the best feeling playing Teles. The neck, I just love the neck on it. I'm a little out of practice right now. I played pretty rough there because I kind of tore my fingers up last week playing or building a deck for my mother-in-law. But so I'm having a little bit of trouble tonight playing and my fingers hurt. But I will say this. The new Tele is heavier. It's made out, the pine is heavier actually than the old, whatever my other Tele is made out of. I don't know what it's made out of. Honestly, it just plays great. It is an American standard, 1989. It does have, my American Tele has the adjustable bridge, not the brass type bridge. It seems to be a little darker sounding than this Squier Telecaster. I guess if what you're looking for from a Telecaster is that twang and that real spanky kind of sound, then the little new one is very bright. Maybe it's not coming across so much on the microphones, but to me, I'm playing through this little small amp, and I've not tried the bigger amps and everything they've got yet. But it seems very bright, much brighter than the other Telecaster. And of course, it has new strings on it. My other Telecaster probably has strings I've left on there for 6 months. So that might have something to do with it. But I think more than anything, it probably has to do with the brass and the bridge, and the fact that it's a different kind of wood. It's a heavier, like maybe it has to be more dense kind of wood. What do I think about the neck and the playability of the Squier? Pretty dang great. I won't say it's as good as an American Telecaster. Like I say, I've played a 50s. I played a 1952 Tele in the past. There's a guy I used to jam with up in the mountains many years ago, and he had one. He let me play it, and I mean, man, when you hold one of those old Teles in your hand and you play it, and you know, compared to mine, I would say that 52 Tele that I played, honestly, it was like a 10 out of 10. I would say my guitar, if I were, let's say I rate it to 100, then I would give 100 to that 52 Telecaster that he had. I would give for my Telecaster probably a 90. Because it really is, I think back in the late 80s there, they really were building some great standard Telecasters. There's no bells and whistles about it. It's just a plank. But it's a really good version of a Telecaster. They had rebounded somewhat, Fender had, from some previous failings they had with their guitars. And by late 80s, they're making great guitars again. And I love mine. Matter of fact, Keith Urban, I think, his favorite Telecaster is his 89 Telecaster. Love mine. Have played the heck out of it. I love the fact that I like the bigger frets. I like the fact it's not as glossy on the neck as this new one is. Of course, here it is. This is a Squier. This is a $400 guitar. And I just got to say, this plays pretty dang great. Sounds, I think it maybe gives you maybe more of what you want in a Telecaster than sometimes a Telecaster does. It's more glassy sounding. It's definitely got bite. It would cut through if you're playing country, I think. Depending on how you've got your amp set and everything, the blues and all. Sound really good in it. It's taken me a while to get used to the neck. I'm more used to that other neck. It seems skinnier than the. I think the profile's different. It seems to be more of a modern sort of C neck, and I think my other one's maybe a little bit thicker. This is the way it feels. This one's definitely heavier than mine. I would say probably by as much as 8 to 10 ounces heavier than the other guitar. The other one just seems light compared to this one. Yeah, the location of the string tree, I've noticed is different. You've got the string tree way up here. On mine, it's kind of more like down here. But golly, you know what? For what this is, I think I've even peeled the plastic off of this pick guard yet. But what I was going to say is, that's hard to beat for $400. Again, I got it from Sweetwater Sound, who are just fantastic. If you've not bought anything from them, they check out every guitar. I'm not trying to sell for Sweetwater. They're not paying me anything to do this. I just got to say, they assign you a special sort of salesperson or a customer service person. Mine is a guy named Stuart Niven, who's fantastic. Stuart, big thumbs up to you. I always appreciate you. They give me calls after the fact. talk to me. What do I really think of the instrument? You know, we prepared it for you. We did some things for you before it left our shop. And you know, what do you think? And I appreciate everything those guys do. Best customer service I think I've ever had through a online music store. And this guitar is great. I guess if I were to rate it, like I say, I'd probably give mine about a 90 out of 100. I would probably give that guitar about an 83 or 84. So that's pretty fantastic when you think about that. I would rate it that high. It is a much brighter sound, or at least to my ear it is. It is playability wise. It's going to take a while for me to get used to the neck. It's almost as heavy as an old Les Paul, but I like the look of it. You know, back when I bought this guitar, you couldn't get that natural finish. That natural piece of wood is what I really wanted. I did not really want the Arctic white they called this back then, or now it's classic white. I can't remember what they call it, vintage white. It's really yellow, and you know, you couldn't get the black pick guards and stuff. I really wanted a guitar that looked more like that one, but this was the closest to what was available back then. And like I say, this guitar has just been my main guitar when I want to play country and a lot of blues. And for rock, particularly for classic type rock, I have like jammed many hours, and I've almost wore the frets out on this thing in places. There's a lot of, probably needs to be refretted up in these portions right up in here. But to me, this is still an American Telecaster. I've not played the new Americans. There's so many different ones they've got coming out now. I'm sure the new American Teles are maybe even way better. I've got a modern Players Telecaster now that has the humbucking pickup in the back, and it's got a strap pickup in the middle, and it's got a lipstick Tele pickup in the front. Love that one too. If I were to rate these things best to I would say worse, and there's not worse in any way, I would say my American first. I like that modern Players Telecaster second. Again, on a scale of 1 to 100, I'd probably give it probably an 86 or 87. I'd probably give this one, like I say, I'm going to say an 82, 83, something like that for this other Telecaster. Not as versatile as the other one, but it's kind of apples to oranges since you're talking about, you know, a totally different design with that modern Players. But these two stack up pretty well. And so I have to say, not a bad guitar, especially if you're just looking at $400. That is quite impressive. And it's Squier. It's not a regular Telecaster. It's crafted in China. I guess the American equivalent of this would cost a whole lot more. I haven't even priced them out. I had read so many great reviews on this one, and I just wanted to really check it out and try it. And I gotta say, I'm pretty impressed. So, you know, leave your comments. Talk about what you think with the comparison of these two guitars. Peace to all who watch. Subscribe to the channel if you like.